Welcome to Inside the Arena, your source for everything off the ice, off the court, and outside the field of play. With your hosts, KOMO Sports Director Niko Tamurian and KOMO Senior Reporter Chris Daniels.
Hi again.
Hello. How about it? Back to be here. Glad to be back here in studio.
Episode number 24 with another in-studio guest, Beth Knox.
I'll do another applause.
Yeah, there's more applause coming from everybody outside. KOMO World Headquarters, the head of the Seattle Sports Commission.
Thank you for being here, Beth Knox.
Oh my gosh, it's an honor. Thanks for inviting me.
We've got a lot to go over.
Yes, we do.
There's a lot of stuff that Beth's been working on.
You think?
Yes, both past and present and future.
Yeah, I know we're going to get into the interview in a minute, but what a several year stretch here with worldwide events that we've had and are coming up. My goodness, you guys have been busy.
It's been a ramp up, and it's been so exciting to be on this ride.
Oh my gosh.
Beth has been on a run, and we're going to talk more with Beth here in just a second. But what we do every week, we like to touch all the bases, four corners, what's good, what's bad in the world of sports off the field, off the ice, off the court. You go first.
I'll go first, and we're going to give a shout out here to one of my favorite people in Seattle sports. I know we all agree with this. The great Rick Riz.
Yes.
The voice of the Mariners. How can you not love Rick Riz? He did his annual Toys for Kids that was over the weekend. Now they collected them. And so now it's about, in the near future, distributing those to kids in need. And I just think that they don't come much better than Rick Riz. And listen, so many sports podcasts, they can talk about how, the end of the season may have been disappointing. They can be all about the hot stove this winter. We would be remiss if we didn't talk about Rick Riz doing this. Or a couple weeks ago, we talked about guys like Cal Raleigh, Ryan Bliss, helping hurricane victims in the southeastern U.S. And a future episode, we'll talk about Julio Rodriguez gathering toys for kids in Seattle and, of course, for his childhood home in the Dominican Republic. But kudos to Rick Riz. They just did the collection over the weekend. Rick Riz Toys for Kids. I love Rick. I almost feel bad. I see him pregame at games, and we end up talking so long that we have to rush into the dugout to get the manager interview, whether that was Scott or now Dan Wilson. But shout out to Rick Riz. We love you, and great job doing what you do every year with Toys for Kids.
And we talk about this every week, the fact that the Mariners struggling on the field, what that has meant for the people who have worked there for so long, like Rick Riz, like others in the front office. And you really feel for those people when the season comes up short. A lot of people like to complain, but Rick, he's there 162 games a year. He's all the spring training games, all this stuff off the field that he's doing as well, that he's done for years. I think you feel for people like Rick when the season comes up short. Yeah,
and Rick is that person. I say I love him. Everybody loves Rick. He's so good to everybody. One of my favorite stories at the baseball playoffs in Houston 2022. He's sitting in the Astros cafeteria doing his thing with his chart, his lineups, and I didn't want to bug him. Then he waves me over. He's like, I just want you to sit and listen for a minute here. And Rick Riz says something, you do it. And then next thing you know, all these baseball legends start coming over, the national broadcast crew, and they're listening to Rick tell stories. And he kind of just looks at me and gives me this this is what I wanted you to listen to. It in his own way, kind of taking me under his wing, which was really cool of him to do. And that's the guy he is.
Well, let me take you to second by saying what I think is positive in the world of sports, at least regionally. The Washington State Cougars, the football team, continues to win, and that's important for brand building right now as Washington State, Oregon State, the rest of the new Pac-12 seek out new TV deals as they go to the CW, where they're on right now, shameless plug, our sister station, as they go to maybe TBS, TNT, others. It really is important this year more than ever for them to win in football, to build that brand, to try and sell the future of the Pac-12. And here they are with just one loss on the season. They're nipping at the college football playoff. Don't know if that's going to happen, but it's important for them to keep winning. They've done it. And Jake Dickert and that team are really performing well when they need to do it most.
Yeah, 18th in the latest poll. You're talking about them being about the fourth or fifth team out, and that's not even counting the top non-power team getting in. So credit to Coach Dickert. Hey, you might be a Boise State loss away.
Yeah.
It might be that close. So we'll wait and see.
Yeah. We don't need to talk about that Boise State game. The one game I went to this year, they lost.
Sorry about that.
Yeah. But what don't you like this
Wow,
week?
you guys had the sneak peek before we went on there. I have a little bit of a rant, and with the caveat that as you explained it to me mid-rant, Nico, calm down. This is what's going on. I understand that there's many, money and things like that involved. But let's talk about the MLS Cup playoffs and the idea that the first round was so exciting. We saw the Sounders go to shootouts and both wins, penalty kicks with Houston, and advance in such a dramatic way. And now that you go later in the playoffs, now it's back to a one-game elimination. And it's against LAFC, who we always seem to meet up with the Sounders in the playoffs or in these high-stakes situations. Every other major pro sports league, as we know, the later you get in the playoffs, the longer the series, okay? Baseball, you start with the wild card best of 3, divisional best of 5, so on and so forth. Championship World Series Game 7. NBA, you start best of 5, then you go to Game 7. Soccer does the opposite, and I get it. You international play, FIFA call-ups, that sort of thing. You have to accommodate it. I'm not knocking that, but strictly in the tunnel vision of MLS, and in our case, rooting for the Sounders, I'd like to see, because listen, I understand that in sports you can have one game and you're out. That's just what the playoff atmosphere is. But it would be cool to see as the stakes get higher. Maybe you still have the best of 3. Maybe going more than that in soccer might not be realistic, but you're going the opposite trajectory of what you see in a lot of other sports. And I'd love to see more than one Sounders and LAFC match.
Well, and we're getting to a position here too where the players are continuing to see their seasons extended.
Yeah.
There's a lot of complaints coming from the other side of the pond, so to speak, in Europe. There are questions about how that's going to affect the FIFA Club World Cup, which we will talk more about with Beth here in a second. But the MLS really walking a fine line, trying to expand their brand, get more money. This season's going on already too long. Adding more games to that as we get to the semifinals, and a final is a difficult line to walk. Okay, so I talked about what's positive. I'm going to say the same subject is negative.
Okay,
work with me here.
I got you.
So the Cougs, you've been to Pullman.
Oh, I love Pullman.
You know the situation with the hotels there.
It's like one, basically.
and it is tough to find housing. I'm really hoping that this season also can show the Washington State University administration that somebody needs to figure out the math here. The hotel inventory that is there, it's $300, $400, $500 a night. And it's difficult for the hotel motel industry to, they have a lot of inventory on non-football game weekends. They're trying to make up for it on football game weekends. But what has happened now with the Cougs not in a Pac-12 with Washington and Oregon and the rest is the interest has gone down because there is this impediment of the prices of the hotel nights. And somebody needs in Pullman, Whitman County, Washington State University, figure out a way to subsidize that somehow to get that number down to bring people to the stadium, because Washington State right now is looking at a game against Wyoming at the end of November where there could be 10,000 people in that stadium.
Yeah, freezing cold Pullman, students gone for the holiday.
And people being asked to pay $400 or $500 a night.
Yeah.
It's $1,000 weekend. It's cheaper to see them on the road. Jake Dickert has talked about bringing people to the stadium. It's a tough math problem, but somebody's got to solve it. And I think that may have to come through, I don't know, like the Pullman Sports Commission or something, something like that. How about that?
You gonna branch out, Beth?
Franchising.
Okay, we do it every week. We're going to keep it short this week. We always say we'll talk about the Supersonics for a minute. Right? This is what you'll hear.
You and that side. I love it.
Not a lot new to report. I think we're still waiting on the Celtics sale to go through and get finalized. We're still waiting on TBS, TNT, that legal situation involving locally based Amazon and what happens with that TV deal. Beth can give us her perspective ever so delicately here as we talk, but there are those elements that I think a lot of people are waiting on. We have talked repeatedly on this show about September, this past September being a date that was on the calendar, that it now seems like we are talking now months into the future, potentially about an expansion process. But until those two things, until we see some movement, it's going to be tough for the NBA to move forward.
Yeah, and that's just it. You're talking about billions and billions of dollars. They're gonna move delicately. And hey, we waited 16 years. What's another few months?
Yeah, right, Beth?
That's right. I think we have to change our end game on what that milestone is.
Well, Beth Knox, for people that are uneducated, she was just named one of the most influential people in all of Seattle by Seattle Magazine. Has an extensive history here in Seattle with Seafair, Bumbershoot, Special Olympics, and I'd forgotten that you organized the Seahawks Victory Parade.
That's right.
What is it like to organize a parade like that?
It was truly a career highlight for me. We had just a few days, actually, to pull that together.
Wow.
So my favorite part of producing that parade was that to a person, everyone I called to say, here's what I need, they said, done. And I was like, why can't it always be this easy? It was the coldest day I have ever been at a parade, but incredible experience.
Well, and all of this has been great background. It led you to the Seattle Sports Commission. Make sure I have my dates right. Just before the pandemic or right in 2020?
Just as the pandemic got underway.
What a great time to start a new
Right?
job.
Who doesn't want to be in sports during a pandemic?
But Niko and I have talked about how you've been on a roll recruiting events. I can say objectively, almost 25 years in town. There was a time when Seattle was having trouble recruiting large events. We didn't have the Kingdome anymore. Bob Walsh, so many years ago, was such a great promoter in getting the Final Four and other events to the Kingdome. And then once the Kingdome went away, it was tough to have the Final Fours and the NBA All-Star games and all that kind of stuff here in Seattle. But just in the last few years, there's been a noticeable change, and that's all complimentary. For people that don't know what the Seattle Sports Commission, let's start with this first. What the Seattle Sports Commission is, for people who don't know. What exactly are you doing at the Seattle Sports Commission?
So we're a member-based organization, similar to your Chamber of Commerce. We have members, about 175, who are part of the sports community in some way, shape, or form. And our job is to work with stakeholders, the city of Seattle and the region, to bring in premier sporting events that will have a positive impact on our region. So it's really been about being aggressive in going after those events, partnering with our local franchises and our local sports venues to say, who do we want to bring in and when do we want them here, and then go after them.
Real quick, that involves, for people who don't know, that involves like hotel rooms and the amount of hotel space that there is in Seattle. Just in the last few years, as you took on this job, there's been more inventory as well, really around the convention center, with one of the biggest hotels north of San Francisco, west of Minneapolis, I think is the claim to fame. So is that part of the bid process when you're reaching out to say, hey, look at all these hotel rooms we have now?
No question. For the larger events, it's a real key factor. Certainly for a FIFA World Cup, you have to have not just the hotel rooms in Seattle, but in the region and then beyond. We know that for a FIFA World Cup, people will drive up to 2.5 hours from a hotel to come to a match or to come to a celebration around a match. So yeah, hotel rooms are critical. If the events are modest in size, then we absolutely can accommodate those. But we are now at a place where we can more comfortably accommodate these larger events.
What is this? Okay, so you emerged from the pandemic, and almost immediately out of that, we hear about the Major League Baseball All-Star Game. Then a few months later, we hear about the World Cup, the Winter Classic, and the NCAA tournaments, women's PGA. I mean, my goodness, what has this stretch been like from the standpoint of not just courting these events to come to Seattle in some cases, but at the same time is selling us and making sure that our city is ready in that regard?
Yeah, it's a combination of telling our story. Seattle, frankly, has not been great about that. We tend to be more humble about, how great our region is. And I am the one out there in the forefront saying, no, Seattle is an amazing place to host these sporting events, telling the story of our incredible sports fans, the venues that we have, all of the different activities that one can do. If you come here for a sporting event, you can do so much more than just attend that game. So a big piece of it is telling the story about Seattle and the region. But it's also having great relationships with all of the sports teams, the franchises, as well as sports venues, and saying, what do we want to set our sights on? And what's the balance of events at what time of the year? So you certainly don't want to have premier large-scale events back-to-back and overburden the region. But you can space them out over a couple of years and certainly accommodate them and have a nice cadence and that rhythm of sporting events coming here.
Yeah, what are the leagues looking for? Do they come to you with like a bid package to say, hey, this is the venue we're looking for. This is the amount of people that you need to have. I mean, what does that look like?
Yeah.
Because I think Niko and I have talked a lot about that we had the Major League Baseball All-Star Game, and then a few months later, it seemed like the Winter Classic. Both big events, but different.
Right. These when you're dealing with a national league or an international events organization or the NCAA, any of these conferences, they come to you with, here's our specs. Can you meet them? And so we have to be able to, again, tell that story and show that we can accommodate the needs for whether it's hotel rooms or transportation, all of the elements that make the experience for whether it's a student athlete or a player or the fan be extraordinary. That's what they're looking for. So we have to be able to respond to that RFP and say, here's what Seattle can deliver. Occasionally, we might go out to an event and say, hey, have you ever thought about Seattle? And then we do it in reverse. So it can happen both ways, but typically, especially now that we have been awarded these as premier sporting events like a FIFA World Cup, they are saying, Seattle is on our radar. What can you do for us?
That kind of leads into what I actually wanted to ask. We don't have to name names or anything here, but as you've gone out and pitched things, has there been a league or entity that, I don't want to say apprehensive, but was wondering about Seattle? Could they question whether or not we could host these events? And then they maybe saw one of the other events come in and that kind of, you said, okay, yeah, they can definitely handle the big event. What has that process been like when you're going to sell Seattle? And has there ever been an instance where they're like, oh yeah, they saw us pull off this event and that was kind of like a selling point to them?
There's no question. When they saw that we could produce an MLB All-Star Week of activities with zero negative incidents, all of these just really great experiences for the fans that came here, the locals that experienced it, and then right on the heels of that, being awarded a FIFA World Cup and then an NHL Winter Classic. That just immediately puts us in a category where these other leagues and conferences are saying Seattle is somebody we need to be paying attention to. They obviously can host premier events and are on our mark for particular events. So we have demonstrated already just by MLB All-Star and Winter Classic, and now knowing that we can host literally the largest event on the planet, that puts us in a different category.
When you have two events like that back to back, and clearly they were awarded separately, how much pressure is there to make sure that they are execute when you've delivered the events? Then there's the execution part of it. Where do you come into play in terms of the making sure that everything's executed correctly? The pressure that's on to make sure everything's done correctly, because you obviously want to go get other events after that.
Right. Well, and every event is a little bit different. So the Sports Commission will play a role in the local organizing committee. Sometimes we're leading the effort, sometimes we're supporting, but by and large, we are representing the city of Seattle or the region and showing that we can execute well. So then we're representing, whether it's a team or a venue, we're helping to be that face. So yes, it's incumbent on us to make sure that we are delivering at a high quality and that the experience, not only of the fans, but also the league or the conference that we're working with, that those planners and executives are saying, Seattle was easy to work with. We could get our permits. We could work with city officials and deliver this product that is so important. And also, it is so important to them that we are delivering a uniquely Seattle experience. They don't want it to be cookie cutter from the last event that they hosted. So we have to provide all of that. And that's where the Sports Commission comes in and serves as that bridge between the city of Seattle and the city departments that we work with and the help to deliver these events. That's a big factor.
Can I just ask, with all of the work that you have to do from recruiting to helping make sure the event goes, everything that goes into it, when you actually get to say MLB All-Star Game Day, do you get to enjoy it for a few minutes?
I do, because by the time you get to that point, the vast majority of the work is done, and you've got people in place that are ready to execute. So, of course, you can never fully relax. There's no question about that. And there's a lot of unknowns that can happen, a lot of things that keep me up at night. But I do, over the years, I have learned that I used to tell my staff all the time, when I produced festivals and events, it was find your festival moment. And it's that moment when you say, this is why I do all of the work that leads up to this moment. And it could be that you're witnessing a fan enjoying the event to the full degree, or something just goes perfectly right. That's when you say, this is it. This is why I commit so many hours and so much energy to make this happen. So
looking ahead, you were saying things that keep you up at night. I've asked the mayor about this, Bruce Harrell. I've asked others about it. This whole thing with Sound Transit getting light rail over the lake, with all these people coming from all over the world to the east side, south side. They're going to be using rapid transit to get around. What are those conversations right now like with Sound Transit to make sure that they can actually deliver before the world comes to Seattle?
Well, I feel it and live it every day. I live in Issaquah on the east side, so I get to experience the I-90 commute and think about that frequently, that we need people to be able to access downtown Seattle in an efficient manner. And light rail is just the primary component of that. So that has to happen. I think about that a lot. And yes, work with the local organizing committee for FIFA World Cup and all of the transportation stakeholders that we work with. I can tell you, I know that they are kept up at night thinking about this, worrying about it, making sure that it's going to happen. The airport is in the same category for me. If you've been to the airport, you know that construction is a challenge right now. And every time I experience it, I remind myself that the Port of Seattle is so focused on making sure that it is done in time for those visitors in 2026. So it is a price that the locals have to pay and visitors in the meantime, but it's all to hit that deadline. Steve Metrick, the executive director of the Port of Seattle, tells me every time I see him, he reminds his workers every time he's with them that's the deadline. So I know that they're working hard to hit that marker, and yes, it keeps me up, and yes, I have confidence at the same time.
I'm always been curious. I see a new release from you all, some big event that's coming. At the same time, I'm like, wait a minute, they're in the middle of planning a World Cup or All-Star game, whatever it is. How do you balance that? The things that keep you up at night, trying to make sure an event goes off without a hitch, yet continually recruiting new events to Seattle.
Yeah, you're juggling a lot of different things at one time and shifting gears from recruiting an event or telling that story and making your pitch to then and being in planning mode to then being in execution mode. So you're constantly shifting hats that you're wearing. It's one of the challenges of this job and one of the things that I love the most, because no 2 days are the same. And it's exciting to be in those different roles at different times. So it is a juggling act, but it's really about what do we need to do to ensure that our sports community is thriving and downtown Seattle is vibrant and also thriving, as well as our region.
So let's look forward, because there's
Yes.
two big events that I think a lot of people are excited about that they don't, and the people who aren't, don't realize what they're all about, meaning the World Cup in 2026 and then now this bonus FIFA Club World Cup in 2025. We already talked about the players situation, but in terms of when you're recruiting this, it was this whole top secret thing with Gianni Infantino coming to town to make this announcement. How much advance warning did you have that he was going to award all these games to Seattle and for the Club World Cup, first of all? And is that going to be a big thing? I mean, what can we expect at Lumen Field?
This was not a recruitment event, so we did not go after it. It was a bit of a surprise to us. We weren't planning on it. And it's kind of part of the package. So we appreciate the opportunity to, certainly it's an incredible honor to host the Club World Cup. We do see it as an opportunity to test some of our systems for FIFA World Cup. It will not be the same as a FIFA World Cup. There will not be a fan celebration. You won't have 750,000 visitors over that 6-week period, but it will be 6 matches that will have a huge number of people that are coming to Seattle. So it does allow our transportation and security and all of these teams that have been planning for FIFA World Cup to test some of those systems. So that's a great opportunity for us to take advantage of. And like I said, it's just an honor to be able to host Club World Cup, and it's exciting to have those matches here and all those visitors that are going to be enjoying the matches.
We've talked about so many different events, whether it's soccer, whether it's hockey, baseball, and NCAA tournament. Is there anything my gosh, what else could you possibly do? What other sport or season do you potentially have your eyes on? My goodness.
Well, there's actually quite a bit.
Okay.
Of course, you know that we already have a Major League Cricket team, but they're not geographically located here. So working toward building a venue that can host Major League Cricket and then bring the team here on a permanent basis. That's in the long-term goals. We've got women's hockey, professional women's hockey league that is on the horizon. We also look ahead to other major events that can come here, and we are in exploration right now of an NFL draft in the future. We're looking at, of course, the Rugby World Cup, both men's and women's, and that would be in 31 and 33. So, we've got a long-term strategy here that really is about how do we keep the pipeline filled and looking ahead to bringing this nice cadence of events that our region can be really proud to host.
Yeah,
she piqued my interest with the NFL draft talk because
yes.
it makes me think of for the World Cup in 2026, the Fan Fest is going to be at Seattle Center, but Memorial Stadium won't be done in time for that. How much conversation are you having right now about Memorial Stadium, even though it's a little difficult situation because it's school district, the focus is going to be on the school district, but I've already seen people floating ideas about teams that could play there. So how is that fitting into the portfolio on pitching Seattle right now? Even though the draft, for instance, could be at Lumen Field and all that kind of stuff.
Sure. I think Memorial Stadium fills an important gap that we currently have in our sports venue market right now. Like the Premier Lacrosse League, there's just not a good venue in Seattle that can handle the TV aspect, the broadcast aspects of it, the fan aspect, and have the right attendance capacity. So that's just one example of the role that that void that the Memorial Stadium can fill. So I definitely am anxiously waiting for that stadium to open in a renovated way because it will really provide that mid-market, mid-size venue that we so desperately need.
And of course, coming up a couple months, my favorite event, Sports Star of the Year. 90th, right?
90th
Wow. Sports
Star of the Year.
Wow. How exciting is that?
It is. It's fantastic. We are one of the oldest sports award show in the country. So not only getting to showcase the sports stars of this past season, but also that sports legend, the sports humanitarians, media excellence, all of those great individuals that we want to provide some accolades to. And I will say this year is we are moving to a new venue. We will be in the Seattle Convention Center Summit. And for the first time, we will offer a special seating for the general fan that
Wow.
wants to come in, and dinner won't be served for those folks, but they can come in and see the show and be part of all of the ambiance and get to see all those sports legends.
If you're one of those fans, you're going to love it.
I think Beth Knox just made some news on this podcast.
Yeah, that would look like. I'm like, where's my notebook? I got to watch this back.
Anything you want to say about the Sonics while we're at it?
Hey, I cannot wait, just like you guys.
Can you come back sometime?
I would love
Oh,
to. I would love to.
This was a blast. Thanks for coming on.
It's been my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
I don't really have any final thoughts.
I think Beth gave us the best final buzzer there, all that stuff at the end.
Yeah,
that was
so
great.
Let's just have David Lee take us out.
You've been listening to Inside the Arena with Niko and Chris. Please subscribe on your favorite platform. Until next time.